You think getting promoted makes you safer? No. You may have just climbed into the layer AI is about to crush the fastest. A company does not keep you because of your title. It only keeps the part of your value that machines still cannot do. I am Max, from 5 years in the future, today. I am going to tell you why your job description is turning into scrap paper, why only the people who can command systems will keep their place, and why so many people will lose their footing before they even understand what is happening. How does a company even run if it stops caring about titles? Why can 5 years or 10 years of experience suddenly fail to protect an office seat? Is AI replacing people completely? Or is it really wiping out the roles that lived on passing information, collecting reports, and keeping the process moving? We are about to break all of that down right now. Welcome to today's story, the end of the job description. And now, stay with Survive AI. This video is not here to scare you with one more doomsday slogan. It is here to expose the real face of the post-title organization, where companies no longer ask who you are on the business card. They ask a colder question. What part of your value is AI still unable to swallow? And if the answer is too small, even the best title in the world will not save that chair. Back then, companies hired you with one familiar sheet of paper. Job title, task list, work hours, reporting line, deliverables. Everything sat neatly inside a box. You walked into the company, opened your email, handled each task, finished your part, and believed that was how a stable career was built. But inside many of the fastest-moving companies now, that logic is starting to die. They no longer look at work as one fixed box handed to one person from 9 to 5. They break it into small tasks that can be measured, repeated, and assigned piece by piece to AI agents. One agent handles payroll. One checks errors. One summarizes data. One tracks deadlines. And in a very short time, a whole position that once sounded solid starts getting taken apart into little buttons. That is when you face the most dangerous truth. Companies are no longer buying one human for one role. They are starting to buy one system for one result. Look at a payroll department. Something that used to need a whole team to check data, match errors, run payroll, handle questions, and send confirmation. In the old model, each person owned one step. One entered the data, another checked it, someone else approved it and pushed it upward. But in the new model, the company does not hire a head of payroll the same way anymore. It builds a multi-agent system that handles almost the whole flow in milliseconds, then keeps one human above it to supervise, audit, and step in when something unusual happens. That is the real rule change. Companies no longer need many people doing one fixed chain of work. They need fewer people. But those people must stand above the process, not inside it. From that moment on, anyone who only knows how to do the repeatable part starts drifting into danger. If your work is just a clear process that can be described step by step, it will not stay a career for long. It will become an automation button. A lot of people hear this and try to calm themselves down. I am not a task worker. I am in the middle. I manage. I coordinate. I am safer. No ire. The middle layer is exactly where the pressure is getting worst. Because once the job description dies, the old pyramid structure starts dying with it. What replaces it is the hourglass model. At the top is a very small group making core decisions. In the middle, the layer once packed with middle managers, coordinators, and mid-level office staff starts getting squeezed hard. At the bottom is a smaller, faster group that knows how to use AI to multiply output. And that is the most painful trap. A lot of people climbed into the middle of the company and thought they were finally safe. But that is exactly the layer getting cut the fastest, because it is now seen as an expensive information passing layer. From here, the question is no longer what your title is. The question is, once the middle gets thinned out, why would the company still keep you? This is the deepest pain point. The post-title era does not begin because companies suddenly hate titles. It begins when companies realize they no longer need to pay for an entire chair just to keep a chain of tasks running on time. In the past, a role existed because it bundled many tasks into one person. Now AI agents break those tasks apart and handle each piece faster, cheaper, and more consistently. One agent tracks progress. One summarizes reports. One checks errors. One chases deadlines. It all sounds small, but those small functions are exactly what used to support an entire layer of office workers. Once the system starts swallowing those pieces, the first thing that disappears is not your company email. The first thing that disappears is the economic reason to keep paying your current salary. That is where many people get hit hardest. They do not lose the job right away. They just watch the pay flatten, the power shrink, and the scope of the role get thinner. But the truth is, from that moment on, the inside of the chair has already started getting hollowed out. Then HR and finance step into the picture. And from there, the story gets much colder. Because HR no longer looks at you only through years of experience or rank, it starts looking at you through one brutally simple question. For the same output, does it still make sense to keep one person earning $90,000 a year if an AI system plus a few supervisors can do almost the same work for much less total cost? That is when titles start losing real value. In the past, your title helped raise your price. In the new model, your title can make you look more expensive than the company wants to carry. A senior manager is no longer always seen as a sign of progress. Sometimes that person gets seen as a bundle of high salary, old workflow, and slow habits. From that moment on, the question is no longer whether you are good or not. The question is whether the company still needs that kind of seat at all. And if the answer is uncertain, then even the prettiest title will only make the fall sound more impressive later. This is when the hourglass model starts tightening for real. At the top, the company still keeps a very small group making core decisions. At the bottom, it keeps another small group, but one that is extremely fast, extremely flexible, and knows how to use AI to multiply output. In the middle, the layer once filled with team leads, managers, coordinators, and operators starts getting squeezed until it can barely breathe. That is because the middle layer used to live off something that had real value in the old model. Control over the flow of information. It collected from below, pushed from above, kept the process aligned, and turned motion into structure. But once AI makes information move more directly, more quickly, and more transparently, the middle starts losing the old reason it existed. And this is the painful part. A lot of people thought they were climbing higher, when in reality they had climbed right into the layer being drilled through the fastest. That is why I call this filtering wave cruel. It does not always hit the people standing still at the bottom first. Many times, it goes straight for the people who just thought they had finally reached safety in the middle. But the real turning point is not just that companies are using more AI. It is that the way they define human value is starting to change completely. In the past, you could build a good career by keeping the process stable, keeping communication from breaking, keeping reports on time, and keeping the machine from falling out of rhythm. Those things used to be enough. In the new model, they are no longer rare enough. The system can do part of it. AI agents can do part of it. Dashboards can do part of it. So who does the company keep? It keeps the people who can see above the process, the people who can handle exceptions, the people who can make decisions when the data conflicts, the people who know when to trust the machine and when to stop it. In other words, the game is no longer about who keeps the old machine running more smoothly. It is about who is capable of commanding a new machine. From here, the office world starts splitting into two clear groups. One group is still protecting old titles. The other group is learning how to stand above the system. The distance between those two groups will grow fast. And that is when the truth becomes more uncomfortable than every line that says, just learn a few AI tools and you will be fine. F. For a lot of people, the problem is not missing tools. The problem is that their whole professional value was built on a job description that is already rotting from the inside. A person who lives through meetings, communication, coordination, reminders, and summaries cannot become a higher-level systems operator overnight. A person who got paid for keeping the old machine running does not suddenly become a strategic decision-maker just because the company installed AI. That is where the gap appears. The old role wears down faster than the person inside it can rebuild themselves. And inside that gap, a lot of people get trapped. They still have the title. They still have the meetings. They still have direct reports. But underneath, the market has already started seeing them as a middle layer, losing value month by month. That is why I keep saying the most dangerous moment is not when you lose the chair. The most dangerous moment is when the chair is still there, but its real value has already fallen first. The biggest mistake right now is waiting until you lose the title, lose the team, or get a restructuring email before believing the post-title era has reached you. No. By the time those things happen, the worst part usually started much earlier. The real signs are much smaller. You still keep the title, but your decision power gets thinner. You still go to meetings, but fewer and fewer things actually need you in the middle. Your calendar is still full, but most of your value is being quietly drained away by the system layer by layer. That is the most painful turning point. Not when the title disappears, but when you are still carrying the title while the market has already stopped paying a premium for that kind of role. And if you fail to notice that moment, you will keep pouring time, effort, and professional pride into a chair that is losing value from the inside. In this phase, the people who fall are not always the weakest. Very often, they are the ones who believed for too long that the title could still save them. So how do you survive in the post-title era? Step 1. Stop tying your value to the chair you are sitting in. If you cannot clearly describe which part of your work requires judgment, exception handling, final responsibility, or decision-making when the data conflicts, then you are already standing in a red alert zone. Do not comfort yourself with lines like, "I have a strong title," or "and escalate. I have been doing this for years." The new company does not reward seniority or labels by themselves anymore. It rewards the part of your value the system still cannot swallow. That means you need to pull yourself out of the zone where you only pass information, chase tasks, coordinate, or collect reports. A person who only keeps the old machine running is not the same as a person who knows when to stop the machine. A person who only summarizes data is not the same as a person who sees what risk that data is hiding. You do not need to quit tomorrow, but you do need to start moving out of the administrative manager or repeatable specialist zone. The longer you stay there, the easier it becomes for you to turn into overhead before you are ever fully replaced. Step 2. Learn how to stand above the system, not just inside it. This is the line that separates the people who still have a place from the people who get pushed out of the game. In the old model, you could do well by making one part of the process run smoothly. In the new model, companies keep the people who understand why that process exists, where it creates money, where it loses money, and when it needs to be broken in order to save the whole system. If you work in operations, do not just keep the checklist clean. Understand where the company is bleeding time. If you manage people, do not just assign tasks. Understand which decisions truly change business results. If you are a specialist, do not just master your small area. Understand how your area connects to customers, revenue, risk, and company credibility. It sounds small, but it is a massive shift. You move from being the person who protects the process to being the person who can steer the business when the process is no longer enough. And in the AI era, the person standing above the system is always worth more than the person only standing inside it. Step 3. Do not build your whole future on one job description. Build several layers of survival before the company forces you to redefine yourself in panic. That does not mean collecting random skills with no direction. It means deliberately creating more pieces of value that the new organization still needs. That may mean learning how to make better decisions with data. It may mean understanding customers, sales, risk, real operations, or how to work with AI instead of resisting it blindly. It may mean building a small side income stream, or developing a skill that gives you some independence if one chair starts collapsing. The people who get trapped hardest in this phase are usually the ones who only know one role, live through one title, inside one structure, and believe that structure will last forever. It will not. When the rules change this fast, flexibility is no longer a bonus trait. It is a life vest. You do not need to become a tech genius, but you do need to stop living as if the market owes you long-term stability. So if you still believe that climbing into a better title will automatically make you safer in the next AI wave, then it may be time to let go of that belief. What is coming is not just a few new tools for office workers. What is coming is a new kind of organization where titles fade, job descriptions decay, the middle gets squeezed thinner, and only the people who can command systems, Handle exceptions. And make real decisions, keep enough room to breathe. It sounds cold, but the colder it sounds, the more important it is to face it early. Because the winners in this stage will not be the people with the prettiest title. They will be the people who realize early enough that the title no longer protects them. I am Max. And if videos like this help you see the hidden side of this filtering wave more clearly, stay with the channel. Because in the next episode, we are going into something even more unsettling than losing a title. What happens when companies stop abandoning job descriptions and start abandoning the whole idea of a stable, lifelong career?